We're going to talk about trends and opportunities in veterinary diagnostics. And before I'm going to start my talk, I really want to thank AlphaVet for giving me the opportunity to meet here to you. I'm very grateful for having this opportunity. And I think you all should be very grateful for a supplier that is organizing such a cool event. Before we start, I realize I'm the only person who is in between you and lunch. Right? You expected lunch at this time, and you got me. So let's agree on two basic rules of communication. Whenever I'm confusing you, whenever something is not clear, please raise your hand and let me know. I'm happy to be interrupted. I love to be interrupted. The second rule is, to make it easy for you, I will let you know when I'm telling you something that is important. So you can relax. You can take it easy. I'll let you know when there is something that is really, really important. Before I start, I'd like to give you a brief introduction to myself, and I also like to give a brief introduction to the company I'm representing, and that company is IDEX. But first, one slide about myself. As you can see, I have a little family. I'm quite old, but I have a 5-year-old son. I have a cat. The cat on the picture, unfortunately, died last May at the age of 16 years old. And I've sent this presentation 2 weeks ago to AlphaVet. And 2 weeks ago, we were still looking for a new kitten. And I have really good news for my family, and I like to share it with you, because last Sunday, we got a new kitten, also red, a female, fully red kitten, and we're very happy with that. Well, my background is in diagnostics. I studied biochemistry and know quite a bit about hematology. I sometimes call myself a diagnostician, and I like the term. It's not a very well-known term, but I love it. Well, I'm Dutch. I live in the Netherlands. I'm working internationally for more than 22 years. I am living together with my partner, Christina, and the family, as I mentioned. I'm working now for 7 years in IDEX. I started working in IDEX in 2010. So let's move to who is IDEX. Who of you are familiar with IDEX? People on the balcony? That's a quite low number. So we have work to do, right? I should tell you that we are working with AlphaVet since April 1st this year, officially. We had another distributor here, but we're really happy that we're working with AlphaVet, and we really see that as a long-time cooperation that we're going to do. So I'm going to show you a few slides about who is IDEX. Who is IDEX as a company? Well, as you can see on the slide here, the headquarters of IDEX are in the US, in the state of Maine. And for those of you who don't know where Maine is just 1 hour northeast of Boston. The European headquarters are very close to Amsterdam, almost at the airport in Amsterdam. And we are a group of 7,500 people who are very passionate about diagnostics. We care about animals, we love diagnostics, and we love helping veterinarians. One key number there, 40% of our sales is outside the US, which means that 60% of our sales is in North America, right? The good thing is, and the interesting thing is, that the sales outside North America is growing faster than our business in North America, and I'll come back to that in a minute. Is IDEX an American company? I would answer that question with no. I don't feel that I'm working for an American company. IDEX is an international company. We are everywhere in the world, and our ambition is to do well for veterinarians, for pet owners, and for pets all over the world. So we are truly an international organization. Well, some other numbers, of course, we're represented in all kinds of countries, and we know a lot about veterinary diagnostics, so we have a lot of expertise in the company. IDEX is about 32 years old. IDEX was founded in 1984, so we are a relatively young organization. And here you can see the revenue growth over the years. And this slide is a bit old because in 2016 we ended around 1.8 billion. There is nothing to hide, I just couldn't get the up-to-date slide. And this is a combination, of course, of organic growth, and also we did quite a bit of acquisitions. We feel very confident that we can continue to grow in the coming years because we have plenty of new initiatives in the pipeline. We see trends in the market that we're going to speak about that will help us to further grow. Also, IDEX is a very transparent company. On the previous slide, maybe you noticed that we are listed at the NASDAQ. That means that each of you can become a shareholder of IDEX. And if you look at the Nasdaq and how our share did in the past couple of years, then you will see that if you would have invested in IDEX 1 year ago, well, you would be in a better financial position today. And we expect that we can continue to grow, and we expect that we can continue to do well financially spoken. For IDEX, innovation is important. We bring new products to the veterinary market, to you guys. We bring new analyzers. We bring new software solutions that make your work easier. We bring new software solutions that make it easier for you to communicate with the pet owners. So innovation is one of the key pillars of the IDEX strategies. And as you can see on this slide, we spent about roughly $100 million per year on innovation. Is IDEX only in small animals, in small animal diagnostics, in companion animal diagnostics, I should say? No, but 85% of IDEX's revenue, 85% of IDEX's business is companion animal diagnostics. So that's really the key focus of the organization. Some of you might know IDEX because we also sell test kits for livestock, poultry, and dairy. The LPD division, as we call it, which represents about 8% of the IDEX revenue, the smaller part, not my responsibility. We're talking today about this companion animal group. And a segment, well, for sure, most of you will not know, IDEX is also in producing test kits for testing the microbiological contamination in drinking water and in wastewater. But by far the biggest part of IDEX is about the companion animal diagnostic products. On the next slide, we'll zoom in on this companion animal diagnostics. So the 85% of IDEX, if we split it down in the different lines of business, as we call it, you see the two big buckets, which are representing our point-of-care instruments, the analyzers that veterinarians have in the clinic to do their in-house testing. The other big part is our reference lab services. IDEX has a whole global network of reference laboratories where veterinarians send their samples to. In Hungary, we don't offer that service. We don't offer that service in any of the Central and Eastern European countries. And I know you guys are happy with your reference laboratories, so you are familiar with the concept. It's just that we're not present in the market here. What many of you will know, that IDEX is selling rapid assays. And the brand name of IDEX rapid assays is SNAPs, so we call them SNAP tests. And SNAP tests become a kind of generic name, because we see competitors, they say, we're selling SNAP tests, which cannot be true, because SNAP is the brand name owned by IDEX, but they mean rapid assays, but they like using that. You see another small portion here, which is software-related business. We are also selling practice management systems, mainly in the US, and also we acquired a practice management company 2 years ago that is focused on Western European countries. We don't offer the service in Hungary, and I'm really happy that AlphaVet is offering that service, Doki for vets, so we're not in competition there. During this first part of the presentation, I want to really make 3 points. I want to give you a little insight in IDEX's strategy. Now you know IDEX a little bit, you know what we do, you know how we are more or less organized. I want to give you a little insight in IDEX's strategies. And I want to show you about, hey, what is today's role of diagnostics in the veterinary practice, and how do we see this role developing in the coming years? And that will also result in that I will be able to show you, hey, what is the opportunity? What is the market opportunity for IDEX? What is the diagnostic opportunity for you guys further developing your clinics? John Ayers is the IDEX CEO. And this is a quote he made in May this year when he was interviewed at the television in the US. And I really like this, because what is the IDEX strategy? Our strategy is to work hard to fill the gap between current practice and potential. And I'll explain that later on. But we see there is a gap when it comes to diagnostic behavior, when it comes to diagnostic testing, because what was taught to you at the university, to what pet owners do expect and what the reality is. So there is a gap, and this will take us long. We cannot fix that in a week, not in a month, not in 1 year. Maybe it will take us 10, 15, 20 years. Maybe we will be never done. For sure, it will take us young. The trends are huge, there's a lot to get, and the long-term in nature, driving a long-term secular growth well above the growth of the general economy. And I think that's also what you feel in Hungary here, right? We're talking here about practice management, so I think we can also talk a little bit about money. I understood that the Hungarian economy is doing well. I understand that, generally spoken, veterinary clinics are doing well and are growing nicely in Hungary, right? Am I correct? Yeah, kind of. What we see as what is our main strategy? Well, to deliver innovative diagnostic and practice management solutions to veterinary professionals. So we want to bring the best possible diagnostic solutions into your practice. And to do so, we have 3 pillars, as we call it. I will not go into detail here. But in order to do so, we need to help to improve the standards of care. We need to, as an organization, have to make sure that more customers, more clinics worldwide are using the IDEX products. And of course, to support that, it's important that we grow our organization. If we grow our business, we need to support it. We need to grow our organization as well. Looking at the world, looking at companion animal diagnostics, on this slide you can see that money spent on diagnostics is much higher in the US than in all the rest of the world. If we look to all the rest of the world, it's half the size of the diagnostic spending in the US. Which is interesting, right? Just keep this number in mind. On the next slide, you will see something about veterinary clinics. Outside North America, there are 3 times more veterinary clinics than there are in North America. Right? North America doing twice as much diagnostics with only 1/3 of the clinics in the world. So what does that mean to you? Does it mean that they're doing too much diagnostics? They overdiagnose in the US? They test for nothing? Or might there be an opportunity in the areas outside North America to do a little bit more diagnostics? And we truly believe the second statement is true. There is definitely an opportunity outside North America to do more diagnostics. When you talk to American veterinarians, their reality is not significantly different from yours. Of course there are differences, but there are much more similarities. US veterinarians, when I talk to them, when I visit them, I get the same kind of feedback. They want to do more diagnostics, but it's hard to get compliance, right? It's hard to convince sometimes staff to do diagnostics. So the reality is not very different in North America than it is in the rest of the world. They're just at another level. So do you agree with me? Twice as much diagnostic revenue in the US with only 1/3 of the number of clinics. That must mean there is an opportunity outside North America. Just to prove that and to back that up, this is the average diagnostic spending per dog, just referenced against the US. So put the US at 100 and looking at the different countries. And you see here how that looks for a couple of countries in and outside Europe. Where is Hungary on this scale? I don't have the data. We don't have the data. But where is Hungary on this scale? Are you somewhere here, you believe? Or are you somewhere here? Maybe in the middle? Maybe here, right of Spain? I don't have the answer. I don't have the answer, but I'm quite confident it will be somewhere in this lower range. I'll have more numbers for you to check with you. Another indicator proving that. What is the diagnostic revenue share in your clinic? In other words, on every 100 forints, $100, 100 euros or whatever, how much of that 100 is diagnostics? In the US in 2016, the number was 15%. So 15% of all the dollars coming into the clinic was paid for diagnostics, small animal diagnostics. Today it's around 18. All these percentages are going up, but again we see here, US is the highest, this is Canada, sorry for this is Australia, and this is France. What is it in Hungary today? Are you between 5 and 10? Who believes it's less than 5% in Hungary? And who believes it's more than 5%? That's even less. And what are the rest of you thinking, by the way? Most likely it's low. So this is growing. Why is it growing? Because veterinarians, they do more testing in the US. Is this just a revenue share, or is this also this money creating profit? Because at the end of the day, revenue is nice, right? But we need profit. Profit is oxygen for your clinic. It's like oxygen, right? It's not a goal on itself. But if you don't make profit, you cannot innovate. You cannot make investments. So you need profit. I can tell you, we don't have the data because it's hard to get. But this 15% revenue generates more and significantly more profit for the clinic than 15%. So for North American veterinarians, revenue-wise, diagnostics is important and it's getting more important. Profit-wise, it's even more important. So their diagnostics, their in-clinic analysis, their lab work is a clear profit center. Why is that important? Because we see the worldwide trend that the traditional income sources of veterinarians are going down. Most likely 10, 15 years ago, you made more money on vaccinations and that kind of routine stuff than you do today. Less vaccinations, price erosion, prices are going down. Same in the US, and there it's quite extreme. Food. Income on food, veterinarians worldwide is going down. Because there is internet competition, right? There's a lot of competition out there. A lot of Me Too. So the traditional income sources, pharma, by the way, is the third big pillar where you guys most likely make money today. In the US, veterinarians don't make money on pharma anymore. Because people order it on the internet. They get it at Walmart. So the traditional income sources of veterinarians in the US, but it's a worldwide trend, are going down. And the beauty of diagnostics is that diagnostics cannot be replaced. There is no diagnostic internet competition. It doesn't exist and it will not be there. Because the beauty of diagnostics is it has only value together with your expertise. Because it's not the solution to the questions that the pet owners have. It's part of the puzzle that you guys need to solve every day, right? So diagnostics, that's one of the key things. Diagnostics goes together with veterinarians. Diagnostics on itself have no, or at least very low value. Diagnostics will not go away from you. There is no internet competition there. So it's important, revenue-wise, positioning-wise, profit-wise. Another trend I like to check with you is that researches have been done about, hey, the pets, the cats and dogs, they are really members of our family today, right? When I think about the little kitten that I have at home since a week, I'm completely in love, right? And people have that, so the pet-human bond is strong. This research shows from, hey, how many pets sleep in the bed of the pet owner, which is a kind of indicator about the strength of the bond between the pet and the pet owner. And you can see those numbers are going up. And that's a great news. Well, it's not news, but a great fact for you, a great fact for us. People today are more crazy about our pets than the people were 10, 15, or 20 years ago. This is another, for sure you will see publications in Hungary. This is just what I got from a Spanish colleague in a Spanish magazine, which is stating that 31% of the Spaniards consider their dogs more important than their friends. Does that resonate with you, José Manuel? Yes. So there's plenty of proof, there's plenty of news, publications about that the bond between pets and humans is getting only stronger. So the millennials, the younger generation of people, they are more crazy about their pets than the older generations. Who expected that 20 years ago? I think not many people expected that, because we thought, hey, it's all IT and mobile phones and high-tech stuff and whatever. What is the role of the pet in the future? Well, the good news is the younger generation are crazier about their pets than the older generation, which is super cool. Then about diagnostics, we spoke about, hey, in the US they do more diagnostics than in Europe, right? This is a research that we've done focused on sick patients, symptomatic sick patients, cats and dogs. Different countries, we asked veterinarians, of the sick patients that you get, what is the percentage of the patients that you take a blood sample? And that's what's here represented in these red bars. So this means in the UK, of the 100 sick cats that come into veterinary clinics, 38% of those 100, a blood sample is taken. That means for 60%, the diagnosis is done without any blood work, which is a high number. And that's one of the differences with the US. I'm sorry for the confusing colors, but in North America, the percentage of blood samples taken from a symptomatic, from a sick animal is significantly higher, which makes sense. José Manuel spoke about antibiotics. We're also very passionate about reducing the uses of antibiotics. We know that veterinarians, a lot of times, they prescribe without having a proper diagnosis, because it resonates well with the pet owner, right? They go to the vet, they expect pills, and get it fixed. But these numbers are pretty shocking in my opinion, because dogs, cats, they cannot talk. So doing veterinary to diagnose an animal is even more difficult than to diagnose a human being, right? The blue bars is about routine wellness testing. So that is about doing diagnostic testing on healthy animals, right? At least they're not symptomatic. And that's maybe even a bigger difference with the US, because the US is ahead of us in that, because in the US there is significantly more testing going on healthy animals. The annual checkup is a quite well accepted phenomenon in the US. If we look to preventive testing is not very common in Hungary for sure. It's not very common in Europe. It's not very common in the country where I'm from, in the Netherlands. But the great thing is there are plenty of articles which show that if you do diagnostic testing on so-called healthy animals, you will find stuff. You will find abnormalities. This is just an example from an Australian magazine, but you can find publications all over the world. And here the study conclusion is diagnostic testing as part of the regular preventive health checks may facilitate early detections of diseases before they present clinically. And I think that comes back what I said before. My background is more in human diagnostics than in veterinary diagnostics. Pets can't talk. Animals, especially cats, are specialists in hiding the symptoms. So if you start doing testing, you will find more. If it is on sick patients, you will find more. If it is on healthy patients, you will find stuff. You're not testing for nothing. So to finalize this part of my presentation, we are somewhere on this journey, right? Because, hey, it all starts with sick and symptomatic patients. You all do blood diagnostics, sometimes on sick and symptomatic patients. Based on the data that they show you, for sure, also in Hungary, you have the opportunity to do more and more often diagnostics, blood work on symptomatic patients. The part we didn't talk about is pre-anesthetic testing. Same as with preventive testing, there is a lot of evidence that it makes sense to do pre-anesthetic testing. Because if you start doing pre-anesthetic testing, you will find things. For sure, you will find things that are relevant for the planned operation. You will find other abnormalities that are not that urgent. Patient monitoring, of course, and then the later part of the evolution of diagnostic testing is about testing healthy, so-called healthy animals. Well, people call it senior testing, preventive testing, wellness testing, whatever you call it. But this is the journey that we see the veterinary world is on. The US is a little bit further in this evolution than other countries, but we see it as our mission to help you to take this journey and at the end of the day, do better for the pet, because you will find more if you do more diagnostic testing. Do better for the pet owner, because if you have more data, the pet owner has less reasons to be worried and can be more confident about the health condition of the animal. And thirdly, it's there to help you, the clinic. As I've showed to you, diagnostics is and has to be a profit center. And the share of the diagnostic testing revenue and profit will for sure grow in your clinics in the coming years. If you want it or not, it's going to happen, and at some point you will also need it. So can we move to the second part of the presentation? Can you do that, Sander? Because I think this is over. Let me check how I'm doing time-wise, because you guys must be very hungry. Oh, I went over time. I will be very quick. I'll promise and try. Great. In this part of the presentation, I'm going to talk a little bit more about, hey, what is IDEX doing? What do we offer? What do we have on offer? And I'll keep that brief. I'll show you some IDEX innovations, and I'll show you how these solutions can help you to provide better medicine, a better pet owner experience, and helping you to have a better workflow and economy in the clinic. Important statement before lunch. Veterinary diagnostics is not the same as human diagnostics. IDEX is veterinary dedicated. What do I mean with that? The IDEX diagnostic solutions we only sell in the veterinary market. When we develop or design a new test or a new analyzer or whatsoever, we have veterinarians in mind. And we have veterinary samples in mind. If we look to our competitors, all of our competitors, so all the in-clinic diagnostic analyzers are designed or developed for human use. And I will not go through this list here, but I'm happy to provide you more information. There are lots of differences between veterinary diagnostics and human diagnostics. Veterinary diagnostic is much more complex because the different species, the variety even within the species, and because of some characteristics of the blood and the blood cells. What I will do in the next 10 minutes is just show you a couple of examples of new analyzers that we developed, about new tests that we developed, and about software solutions that we have that can help you to do better with diagnostics. I explained to you that we spend quite a bit of money in research and development, and I'm just pick and choose a few out of here, because, well, I can talk to you all day and how cool IDEX is and what all we have, but for sure, that's not what you want. So I will just pick a few, if you don't mind. First of all, IDEX has a quite broad range of in-clinic analyzers. These analyzers are for guys like you. You can have them in your clinic. We have, of course, biochemistry and hematology analyzers, which is the heart, the key of every in-clinic laboratory. And besides that, we have, well, endocrinology, blood gas analyzer, coagulation analyzer, urine analyzer, you name it, and we have it. There is one important difference between human diagnostics and veterinary diagnostics, and that is that the diagnostics are run on the floor. You don't have a lab with lab technicians, at least most of you for sure will not have that. So one thing that we have is what we call the IDEX VetLab Station. What is the IDEX VetLab Station? It's a computer with a touchscreen. And all the IDEX analyzers that you have in the clinic are connected to this computer plus touchscreen. And why is that relevant? Why is that important? Well, it's important because it's easy, because you have one user interface that talks with all the different analyzers. It's also important because you have the data from these analyzers stored in one database. And by having that, you can have reports available from this computer which clearly give the diagnostic results. Why is that important? It's important for you to quickly do the interpretation of the results, because they're here in organ-specific sequence. You get the results from the different analyzers, so hematology, biochemistry together. You have the speed bars here, which is here low abnormal, the normal range, and the high abnormal range. You got that, right? Here you got the results of a previous run if the animal was analyzed before. So it's helpful for you, but it's even more helpful to give value for the diagnostic workup to the pet owner. One of the most common feedbacks I get from veterinarians that tell me, I like to do more diagnostics. And well, at university they told me I should do more. I know I need to do more. But the pet owners, they don't want to pay for it. Difficult to sell it. What the IDEX customer, a lot of the IDEX customers do, they use this report from the IVLS to explain the results to the pet owners. Sit down with them for 5 minutes and discuss the results. Explain what you see here. Another common feedback I get is that, well, I find it very difficult when everything is normal to explain it to the pet owner. Because they pay money for diagnostics, and then I have to tell them, well, it's not everything is normal. Ugh. And I think that's great. I think you should be happy that there's nothing abnormal if you do blood testing. Because the role of diagnostics is more to exclude than to confirm, right? I think we all agree on that. It's more to exclude things. When the liver enzymes are normal, it's great news. You can explain to the pet owner, here, these are the different liver enzymes. They're all within the reference range, which is great news. Because I can exclude these kind of abnormalities, and it's really great news because the liver of your dog or cat is in a great condition. So in other words, you can use this to give value to the diagnostics. And clinics that do that have much less trouble with selling the value of diagnostics to the pet owner. Because how often do pet owners have to pay for diagnostics? It's just a line on the invoice, 50 euro or whatever. They come home, they need to explain to their partner, hey, what did you pay this 50 euro for? Well, that's something to do with blood work, but don't worry, everything was okay. Okay, that doesn't resonate well, right? Well, so this comes from the IVLS. This is how it looks from the competition. The other great advantage of this IVLS is that you can connect the IDEX instruments with your practice management system, which means that you don't have to manually type in the results after you have done blood tests. And, well, AlphaVet is selling Doki for vets, right? So I suppose many of you have Doki for vets. Within a few months, we will have this connection with Doki for vet. It's not ready yet, but we're working on it. And I spoke with Akos this morning. We will have that in a few months from now. That will come. The third reason why this IVLS, this computer, is important is because of what we call smart service. If you connect the IVLS to the internet, we can remotely troubleshoot your analyzer. We can do remotely software upgrades, which makes that if you have, for whatever reason, some doubts, hey, can I trust this result? Is this okay? You feel kind of insecure about it. You call AlphaVet, they get in touch with us, and we can remotely look into the analyzer. I need to speed up a little bit. VetConnect Plus, I showed you the printed report, right? VetConnect is a more modern version. It means VetConnect Plus. It means the results from this IVLS go into the cloud and you can review the results on any mobile device. You can email the results to the pet owner. You can email the results to a referral clinic or whatever. And there's one important thing that I like to make. In VetConnect, there's also a trending function. Because we all know that reference ranges, it's not black and white, right? Within the reference range does not mean 100% sure that it means sick. Outside the reference range does not always mean abnormal. So if you do trending, so this is the same patient, this is an example of creatinine, and you have this data point here, well, it's still within the reference range, but when you see this history of that patient, you see this trend, you need, hey, something might be going on, right? So this trending makes the diagnostics more sensitive. I told you about innovation. On the IDEX analyzers, we add capabilities. So if you bought an IDEX analyzer 5 years ago, or 3 years ago, or 2 years ago, compared to that time, today it has more capabilities. And this just shows for our biochemistry analyzer, in the past couple of years, the parameters that we added. This year we added CRP, bile acids will come, and next year we will also have SDMA on our biochemistry analyzer. Are you familiar with SDMA? SDMA is a new test. It's a kidney marker. I'll go through this very, very quickly. SDMA stands for symmetric dimethylarginine. Forget about it, it's SDMA, right? It's an amino acid and it tells something about the kidney function. And it's much more sensitive than creatinine is. Creatinine goes up when 75% of the kidney is not functioning anymore. So when there's only 25% of the kidney function left, creatinine goes up.